Man, I love my Nintendo Switch because it can play all the platformers I'm ever gonna want.
Back in the 90s to early 2000s, 3D platformers were popping up everywhere. New mascots, new mechanics, new gameplay, and it was great! But as the gaming industry evolved and changed over the years, those platforming mascots were left behind. The boom of platformers was over. The only one who really stood through all that was Mario. And nowadays, nobody even dares to attempt getting close to what Mario can do.
Now, I love Mario games. I'm always happy to see them do well, but it's kind of sad to see my favorite video game genre go so uncontested.
And that's not to say indie developers don't make 3D platformers or no 3D platformers have come out in recent years, because saying that would just be a lie. A Hat in Time came out in 2017 and it will remain as one of my favorite platformers of all time. But little did we know, back in 2018, a little guy was preparing for his big adventure. From the PSVR, he went to a PS5 tech demo, and finally his own full 3D platformer. On May 30th, 2024, a full 3D platformer featuring Astro Bot was announced for the PS5, and it looked great! It was filled with personality, fun mechanics, cool gameplay, and a fun main character. So on September 6, 2024, Astro Bot released on the PS5.
This looks like it's going to be a solid addition to the PS5 lineup, right up there with...
Yeah, no, whether it seemed like it or not, Astro Bot was definitely what the PS5 needed. Ever since its launch in 2020, the console didn't receive nearly enough exclusives due to developers still developing for the PS4, making it really hard to justify those $500 for, according to Wikipedia, only 21 exclusive titles in 4 years. But does Astro Bot do what he needs to? There's a lot riding on his shoulders here. So before wasting any more time, let's jump right in. Astro Bot is a linear 3D platformer with non-linear exploration elements, very similar to the stage layouts of Super Mario Galaxy, and by that I mean your goal is to get from point A to point B, yes, but on your way you gotta save as many of these little guys as possible, which will have you leaving the normal path to little side challenges to save these little guys, or they could just be sitting out in the open. But why are all these bots in trouble anyway? Well, the game starts off with Astro Bot and his crew flying through space in their PS5 when suddenly out of nowhere they get attacked. And now it's your job to collect all the parts to the PS5 and get your little bot buddies back. After you get up and you're ready to go, it's now time to fly off into space on your PS5 controller and discover the many different locations this game has to offer.
One of my favorite things about Mario Galaxy was the huge variety in planets and locations.
And Astro Bot does just that. This game is packed with super pretty environments and fun stage layouts. With the power of the PS5, platformers have never looked better. So many things have such little details and it all looks absolutely gorgeous. It does a real good job at showing off the PS5's power. But Team Asobi really knows what they're doing when it comes to the PS5, because not only does it look amazing, but it feels great too. The PS5's controller is filled to the brim with gadgets and gizmos, like the insane rumble mechanics and the adaptive triggers, and just like Astro's previous adventure, they're taking full advantage of it here. Whether it be feeling for vibrations to open secret passages or flying off on your ship, it definitely adds to the immersion of the experience. But just because you can do something doesn't always mean that you should. For example, sometimes you have to blow into the controller for certain segments and, well... Thankfully, there really isn't too many times where this is an issue. There's just a couple breathing and motion control segments that I thought felt out of place. Thankfully, it was a rare occurrence. But with these linear levels, there are a lot of scripted events, and scripted events worry me.
One of the main things I look for in a game is replayability. And when you throw in too many scripted events, that goes straight out the window.
But thankfully, the scripted events here aren't super intrusive to the level, meaning you could jump right back in and enjoy the level again. Within each level is a special gimmick. These can range from creating your own platforms to slowing down time, and for like the first 3 worlds, None of them repeat, excluding boss battle stages, and this is great! These gimmicks don't limit your moveset either. They expand on what you can already do. The stage layouts work hand in hand with these too, making for some really fun puzzles and challenges. Each boss battle also features a previously used gimmick, and for the most part, these are really solid boss fights. They're engaging, have multiple phases, and keep the player on their toes. Unlike in normal levels, during boss fights, Astro gains 2 additional hit points, and while these aren't the hardest bosses on the planet, those hit points are nice. But once completing a boss fight, you save a PlayStation mascot bot who will then give you their ability for a whole gimmick level based on their respective franchise. And these are super cool. I specifically loved the Uncharted level. Overall, Astro Bot is a really solid 3D platformer, and I had a ton of fun with it. But it does something really good that you don't see very often anymore. Astro Bot is a video game. And that's it. And I know that may sound obvious, but let me explain. Nowadays, the video game industry is plagued with corporate nonsense that's ruining what being a video game actually means. For example, releasing an unfinished game and finishing it through future updates that sometimes cost money, making additional content like outfits cost more than they should, requiring an online service just to play the game you already paid over $50 for, putting no time and effort into making a game just to get a game out, or making pointless remake after pointless remake, and the list just goes on. But what's so good about Astro Bot is it doesn't do that. Sure, there's a deluxe edition of the game, but for the most part, when you buy the game, you have the full game at your fingertips. No required online service, no additional paid DLC, and the game is full and actually finished. And it may not seem like a lot to ask, but video games need to take a page from Astro's book and continue in his footsteps. Because this is why I like this game so much. He's a beacon and hope for the video game industry, and I'm so happy to see platformers like him get such a positive spotlight.
And seeing Astro Bot do so well gives me hope that the gaming industry is going to take a step in the right direction.